This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so yesterday we have done some EC2 instances, all sort of parts, and we have also done the auto scaling a little bit of, and we have also done some load balancer kind of stuffs. So we will have to just look at the advanced features of the load balancing, auto scaling. How can we uh, uh, the EC2 instances are working, all sort of stuffs, right? So are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a session which is we are going to. So what to expect from this particular session? The basic introduction to the auto scaling, using scaling policies and controlling launch and terminations of EC2 instances. So do you know, guys, that what is the auto scaling is all about? Any idea about it? Why it is required and how do we use it?
Yes, as spent, the resources will be automatically allotted to the organization. Suppose we have the requirement of 100 user, and means for we need 200 users in our
Yes, yes, yes.
users access to that.
Okay, okay,
Downsized when the requirement is not there.
okay, okay, perfect. Any other ideas? What is a load balancer? Have you ever used a load balancer?
I have not used that, but means when there is multiple we need to access the website or some resources to that server, then the count of the heat will be automatically distributed to that different server in the background. So the load balancer basically balances the load, and this is the
Yes.
basic.
So we would like to go some advanced features of load balancers, and auto scaling, Dual 53, CloudWatch, all sort of stuffs. So because it is a mandatory things, we need to be understand very advanced kind of stuff, because it is required. To understand all the advanced features is because of it is a billing kind of stuffs, and it will providing advantage of your infrastructure over the cloud on the AWS. So every cloud require providing a automation kind of stuff, so that they can minimize the bill. That the cost effective solution you can provide at the same time, and also it is also required in the so your resources, how efficiently they are working, right? So this is the elastic load balancing balancer. We are also using it. So any traffic, the traffic which is coming from the outside, this is the load balancer. And we have to provide a elastic load balancer at the bottom of at the front at the same time. And this we have traffic coming from the outside, and then the load balancer, it is providing a load to the instances. Then this is the availability zone A and availability zone 2. So that they are different regions, and we have providing different instances into this. And it is the only load balancer which is provide the load sharing. Okay, so if you are running a website and there are multiple queries coming from the the customers, right? Suppose you are launching your website like Flipkart or Amazon or Snapdeal kind of stuffs. So traffic coming from the outside, and the traffic comes to the load balancer, elastic load balancer. Then they will providing their queries to the instances same time. So how effectively they are sharing the load same times, that is only things we're just talking about in the elastic load balancer stuffs. So what is new into this? We will just take a look. So elastic load balancer, suppose we have only just one instance in the particular slide, and then we have this specific one instance there, one instance there, and two instances. So there is a requirement of elastic load balancer. At least we require two instances, and maximum we can, provide as per our company requirement. Maximum 10 you can go for it, maximum 6 you can go for it, but minimum requirement of instances is equal to 2 requirement. So if this particular instance is shut down, or is there any problem with this instance, then all the load is going to the same kind of stuffs. Okay, and this availability zone have got some problems, then automatically load is going with the another availability zone. Perfect. So that is the only requirement of um, the elastic load balancer. And then if you're talking about particularly the elastic load balancer providing a load to the all the instances on the different availability zone, and then we can do one thing into this. We have go for the auto scaling group. We create a auto scaling group, and as per our requirement, as per the load, the increasing and decrease of the uh, instances at the same times. So the minimum of we require two instances on a per availability zone, and maximum we can go for 10. So desired of the instances is 4. So this is the requirement of the company, that what kind of steps you could just gonna provide it. Okay, so this is the elastic load balancer. We can go further. So auto scaling groups, why we going to create auto scaling groups? Okay, the load balancer, EC2 instances, auto scaling, CloudWatch, these are the some the what important terms when you once you're working on the AWS cloud, right? And if you're talking about the Azure part, if you're talking about the IBM cloud, if you're talking about the Nutanix part, there are the different things we can do it. But how effectively you are managing your AWS cloud, and how cost effective your solution you can just want to provide it, it is mandatory for your company as well. So we in this we're just talking about the auto scaling part. The auto scaling is always keep minimum number of instances running, just because of if you're running more number of instances at the same time, then they increase your cost same time. Launch or terminate instances to meet desired capacity, and never start more than maximum number of instances. Keeps capacity balanced across availability zones. So the auto scaling group, it means that it is automatically scaling your EC2 instances. Suppose the queries is coming, suppose you are working in a company and you are running a website like Flipkart, right? And there's a huge traffic coming from the outside, right? If the traffic coming from the huge outside, and then you need, then the auto scaling group is increase the number of instances same time, and if the load is less than that, then it is decrease the EC2 instances same time. So it is requirement as per the the traffic, the load balancing kind of stuffs. It is maximize the maximize the instances and minimize the instances same time as per the capacity. So it is the mandatory things you can go for it. So this is the same thing we are on the talking about is elastic load balancer, the traffic coming from the outside, right? So the elastic, when we're talking about the elastic load balancer, the traffic coming from outside and inside, whatever. But the most probably we have to go for the traffic coming from the outside, and then the instances is there, and we have to map all those instances into the same availability group. There it is. Okay, and the minimum requirement of the instance is 2, and maximum you can go for it any sort of things. Okay, there it is. We have just go for 2, and then we have go for the 3 instances same time. So the what kind of policies you just gonna provide it. Once it is coming from the elastic load balancer, then you have to provide some policies, the ratio method or round robin method, what kind of things you is gonna provide it as per your policy, right? The load sharing of the instances in coming to the picture. The auto scaling, it means that how can you increase the as per the load, the things are increased or things are decreased of the instances. So it is horizontally and it is vertically, we just talking about later on. Okay, so launch configurations determine what is going to be launched, EC2 instances type and size. Okay, Amazon machine images, security groups, SSH keys, IAM instances, and profile and user data. So launch configuration means that once we're just talking about the instances are created, right? So what type of instances should be created? Okay, and what type of machine images which it is working inside the same time, what kind of security groups are working, SSH keys are working, the IAM instances profile are working, user data is working. So we have to launch configurations. We have to just provide launch configurations that if our the instances are right now working at 2, and if the load is very high from the traffic from the outside on the our web server, so we have required 2 3 more servers same time, instances same time, and what type of servers we required. So we have to go for launch configurations, what type of servers will be increased at the same time. So we have to define this kind of things at the same time, right? So that our web servers will be created as per our institute type and sizes, and what type of images should be there inside the EC2 instances, and security groups, SSH keys, and IAM instance profile. So that's all about the launch configurations we have just talking about. So these sort of things we have to um, configured. Launch configuration we have to configure before we have to going for the further things. So all sort of things are available once you're working on the practical sort of things. But the matter of fact that you need to understand the logic behind it, why it is working, how it is working, how effectively you're working it. So that sort of things we are just talking about, right? So the third thing is basically bootstrapping. The installation and setup needs to be fully automated. Use Amazon machine images with all required configurations and software. Golden image, base AMI, install code and configuration as needed. User via user data, via Chief, Puppet, and Ansible. Use AWS code deploy. So bootstrapping is basically what type of installations you just want to do, going for automation kind of stuffs. So the matter of fact that right currently you are working on the 2 3 servers, right? And once the increase the traffic on the your web servers, right? And it is comes to your load balancer, and load balancer sending the traffic to the auto scaling group, right? The auto scaling group you're working on, you created only 2 or 3 instances, okay? But it is required more servers, instances same time. So what kind of installation you have done it, and what kind of automations you have done it into the instances. So as per your instances, as per your AMI images you have configured over on the instances, it is your code is deployed same time. Okay, how effectively your code is working. And these are the some automation tools names are mentioned. Ansible, Puppet, and Chief. These are some automation tools. Once you're going for the automation of your data, automation of your code or sort of things, then you have to use this Chief, Puppet, and Ansible kind of stuffs. And what kind of user data is you're talking about, and using AWS code deploy. So the matter of fact that you are just using the different features at the same time. So you're like Lambda, you can use it. The Elastic Beanstalk, you can use it. Code deploy sort of things, you can do it. So bootstrapping, it means that how once it is boot of your system of instances, what kind of things are available at the same time. Okay. So these are the some what commands we can just going to provide: the update, bash update, yam minus update. So these sort of things we just, if we have the Linux instances, we can just run this sort of commands at same times, and then it will be working automatically. So it is the automation kind of stuffs, right? So this is the again picture we have coming, because elastic load balance is there. Then how, what kind of policies you have provided as per your policy, that the traffic is what moved to the different availability zone, and in the different availability zone we have different instances are available, and this availability zone have different instances available, and this is the policy we have provided, and this the ratio method or round robin method or whatever things you have mentioned it over it. So all sort of things are available on the practical once you're going to work on the AWS console. But the matter of fact that you need to understand what is going on and how to how effectively you're just working all sort of things. So the availability set, if you're talking about in the black box, you're just talking about this is the auto scaling, right? This auto scaling things, and your availability zone inside this, and in the availability zones you have created some instances, right? And this availability group you have added on the elastic load balancer. So it means that once instances goes down, then what happened? The two instances are working same times on the availability zone A, right? And there is no effective same times. So that, you know what, the load, the traffic with the load on this particular yeah, on the particular instance will be sharing by the two instance same time. So right now we have 5 systems are working. Okay. So the termination policies, we need to understand and determine which instances are terminated first, longest running, oldest launch configurations, closer to full billing are, but the balancing of capacity across availability zones takes proceed. So the matter of fact that which instances need to be terminated, termination policies. So you can provide termination policies. This is the, if this fails is happened, then what which instance needs to be terminated first. So longest running, which the instance you are working, right, is all longest running, this should be terminated first. Oldest launch configurations, which is terminate first, or closest to the full billing are, is to be shut down first. So you can provide a termination policy same time, so it is effectively working on the same. And scaling plans are determined when the auto scaling groups will be scaled in out desired capacity and uh, desired capacity current capacity launch instances and terminate instances. So you can have, scaling the plans as per your requirement, because which instances should be working and which instances should be terminated, and what if these are the terminated, and what type of policies we have to configure on the termination part, and what type of policies you can provide with the launch instances same time. So auto scaling plans default ensure currently capacity of healthy instances remains within boundaries, and manual scaling, we can go for it, the modify the desired capacity, and we can go for the CLI commands, and we can do several things there. And the scheduling, scaling and out based on the time events. Dynamic scaling, we can go for that CloudWatch. The CloudWatch we have configured, and it is providing health checks at the same times, how healthy your the auto scaling groups, how effective working of your instances into the auto scaling groups. So these are the some points that need to be understand, that how can we help check the health checks on the EC2 instances once while it is working on the auto scaling groups. So these are the some what concepts we just talking about. So these are the concept which is working absolutely in the AWS environment once you are auto scaling groups. So auto scaling groups is basically EC2 instances are managed by auto scaling groups, right? So we have, create a EC2 instance, and then we move to the EC2 instances to the auto scaling groups, right? And the auto scaling groups should be mapped with the load balancer, and the load balancer mapped with the public IP address of your website, and then you provide a code or of your website, and then it is publicly accessible from the outside world, right? So that sort of scenarios we are just working on it. Create auto scaling groups by defining the minimum, maximum, and the operation optionally the desired number of Ethernet EC2 instances, right? So we can create a minimum and a maximum, instances optionally, and desired instances, and we can work on the auto scaling groups, right? The second thing is launch configurations. Auto scaling groups use a launch configurations to launch EC2 instances. So what kind of configurations you have provided? Suppose you have providing the two instances of the auto scaling group of one availability zone, and if it is one instances goes down, then what kind of if the auto scaling groups create a automatically increase the number of instances in the availability zone, that what kind of configurations. So that is the important prospect, that what kind of launch configurations, what kind of things you have provided to the instance, the same configurations will be working of the instances. Provides information about the AMI and EC2 instances type and size. So these are sort of things very important, because it is not because if you not define all sort of things, that the auto scaling groups will be, will be going to increase the number of instances, but he don't know what kind of configurations need to be provided, right? And what type of billing is coming. So you need to, what launch configurations you to define at the same time. Then the scaling plans. The scaling plans tells about scaling when and how to scale, right? And how to scaling the horizontally, vertically. We were just talking about later on, but the matter of fact that how is auto scaling is working. Okay, create a scaling plans based on the occurrence of a specified conditions, dynamic scaling, or create a plan based on the specific schedules. So if anything goes down, right? Suppose your availability zone goes down, suppose your instances goes down, suppose your auto scaling not working same times. So you have to, what, create a plan what needs to be done at the same time when once it is has any problems like that. Okay, so then we will move further integration with the Amazon Elastic Load Balancing, right? So load balance of your auto scaling groups, distribute incoming web traffic automatically. So the matter of fact that the Elastic Load Balancing are working at the same time, right? So distribute your incoming web traffic automatically. Okay, single point of entry for your applications. So any applications will be contact to the elastic load balancers at the same time, sends data about your load balancers and EC2 instances to uh, Amazon CloudWatch, right? So the CloudWatch basically provide the logs of the particular instances and the health checks, what's going with the instances same time, and is there any load is very high. Suppose the CPU utilization is goes high, and suppose the memory is going very goes high, that what needs to be done from the auto scaling group. Should it will be increase the number of instances, or should we uh, it is also provide the SNS messages to alarm messages to the administrator of the cloud, and then the administrator can provide some troubleshooting sort of steps at the same time. Use elastic load balancing metrics to scale your applications. Use connections dragging to wait and in the flight request to the complete. So that sort of things you need to be understand, that what happened actually. The load balancer and the auto scaling are working together, and how effectively your traffic will be, what automatically you have it providing same time. And also single point of entry of your applications. This is all the single point of entry. So to configure your auto scaling groups to work with one or more elastic load balancers, right? So that you can just configure your auto scaling group with a different elastic load balancers. Suppose you have configured your elastic load balancer for the images, okay, and the second load balancer you have configured for the database part, what kind of what images or database part. The third load balancer you are just go for the queries, the different type of queries. Suppose you're working on a uh, suppose you're working on a website, and the customer is basically is going to select any um, any images, right? So images load balancer has different load balancer. And if you're talking about suppose a customer is querying the what kind of size of this particular item, so it is going for to site the database part is basically comes to the pictures. So different kind of load balancers you can use it different situations, right, as per your customer demand, as per your customized applications is talking about. So it will segregate network traffic at the same time, and it will be cost effective solutions, and you have the better things available at the same time, because in the load balancers you will got the CloudWatch configurations. You have done it, and then the CloudWatch provide the health check same time, and then you can easily analyze what is going on and which load balancer is providing a high um, high increased number of instances same time, and what more needs to be done at same time. So it is the corporate environment when you once you're working, and different things are working at the same times, and you have to just be very intelligent or very smartly you can manage all the AWS cloud while you're working, right? And automatically registers new instances degrades on the on termination. So that is also we can just doing on the load balancer side. Use elastic load balancer health checks in your auto scaling groups. So that is also important prospects, because the auto scaling we have mapped with the elastic load balancer, and the elastic load balancer is providing the health checks at the same time. Then the AWS architect will understand, yeah, what's going on with this particular elastic load balancer. Do we require some increase our number of capacity, or do we need to increase our the cross zone availability zones, or what needs to be done? So as per your procurement for the futures, you can just do a full going to do with this particular health checks as per your decisions. Use elastic load balancing metrics in scaling policies. So you can just provide your policies as per the requirement, as per demand, as per the situations arise in front of you, and you whilst you're working. So what is the benefit of scaling, right? The electricity automatically adapt capacity to demand. So as per your demand, it will be increased, and it decrease and automatically adapt. You don't need to do anything like that. It is automatically increase the number of instances, and it will automatically decrease the instances same times. And capacity to demand, if your capacity is very high, suppose you got lots of requests on the web server, right? And then it is automatically uh, as per your capacity, it will increase the number of instances, different in the different availability zones, and then will be decrease at the same time. So it is cost effective solutions, and it is because there is no downtime, there is no RTO, there is no RPO is happening. So that is also very important prospects, we can say that. So availability and reliability. Do we think we required all sort of things? That is we is going to take the health checks. Why it is required the health checks? Performed periodically, instances are marked as unhealthy or healthy. Unhealthy instances are terminated and replaced. So the health checks basically provide the information that which EC2 instances are working fine in the auto scaling groups, and if they are not working fine, then we have to do some unhealthy instances, we have to terminate them, and we have to replace them, and marked as unhealthy them, and then we need to some requirement same times. What health checks also on the EC2 instances status, providing the running status, it is impaired status. ELB health checks is also providing so out of service sort of things, and mark individual instances as unhealthy. So you can do the troubleshooting steps, you can do as per your capacity. This is the happening, then we need to do something differently, providing some different instances, different capacity of the EC2 instances, that they can taking the loads, all sort of stuffs. So you can make your capacity management, you can go for the change management sort of things, and that is really important once you're working on this environment. So the health check is providing the informations, all sort of things, right? And the elastic load balancing, basically we have already talked about this is elastic load balancer, and the 6 instances, and maximum these are, we have 10 instances same time. Okay, and then the load is coming from the of the outside of the world, and then the if it is goes down, it is goes down, then it is working same time, that is taking the high load of the two instances same time. CPU and RAM will be increases, the database size increase, the read that the IOPS, input output of the particular instance is high. Then at the same time, if this instance in the auto scaling group, it is all increased the instances on the availability zones. So what kind of launch configurations we have mapped it. So it is also important prospects. So these are the fundamentals we are using on the corporate environment, right? And unhealthy instances get replaced at the same time. Suppose it is an unhealthy instance, it is really replaced, because we have got the the health checks report at the same time. Then we came to know that there may be some issue in the particular is2 instance, then it will be working as per the requirement. You can change it. Okay, and suppose it is goes down, then also we can just replace the unhealthy and get replaced same time. Okay, benefits of auto scaling elastic. We have direct, reliable, construct failures of instances of availability zones. So it is automatically, suppose your availability zone, uh, different globalized availability zones you have provided. Suppose you are hosting your website in India, or you launch your website in US locations, and the number of, what the customer from the different environment, the different geographical region it is coming. So you can just make a plan that you have to go for the region will would be that Europe region, you can go for it. You can Asia Pacific regions, you can select it, or you can just US locations regions, you can select it, and as per the load is coming from on your website, you can just modification same times. So that is very reliable for the availability zone, same we can say that. So what kind of policies we can provide in scaling policies? Set fixed capacity, desired capacity for instances, they remove number of instances to more than two, and the remove percentage of 20%. So that sort of things we can just go for it. Scaling on the schedule, so we can create also schedule scaling events. Okay, don't like syntax for declaring scaling, and we can just, providing a schedule that after the 2 3 minutes, and after this particular minutes, after the maximum traffic is coming or desired capacity, we have at least required 3 or 5 servers same time working at the same point of time. Okay, what kind of schedule is, if the event is coming more than that, so we can schedule the scaling things as well, as per the requirement, as per the capacity you have configured, as the company is providing to you. So that it is very flexible approach, you can say that. So as per your company requirement, as per your client requirement, you can just modify it at the same time, and then you can get a benefit. So because there is no downtime, that is only things we are just going to do it in the policy end, right? So dynamic scaling policies, we have a trigger scaling event based on the demand is measured based on metrics. Changes in metrics can be mapped to the scaling policies, right? So we have just as per the demand, as per this cloud, as per the customers thinking that they need to be changed the strategy. So as per the strategy of the client, so you can just modify it same time. So the second point, we are just talking about Amazon CloudWatch. So CloudWatch, basically, once you're creating any instance, it is asking to you that do you require the CloudWatch at the same times. You can say yes or no, whatever the choice would be, or you can go for the separately create a CloudWatch, and then you need to map with your EC2 instances same times. So the matter of fact that what is CloudWatch? The CloudWatch is basically a web service that enables to your monitor and manage various metrics and configure alarm actions based on a data on from those metrics. So any instances you have launched it, the CloudWatch is a part basically. So the CloudWatch basically provide a matrix of your instances, that what's going on with your instances. Suppose the matrix basically you're just talking about the CPU usage, or incoming traffic, or memory usage, who's going to log in your systems, what is, what incoming traffic, outgoing traffic, CPU utilizations, memory utilizations, the load on the particular instances. So that sort of things you just find out in the CloudWatch. So how effectively your work instance is working, that is also a very important prospect, we can say that. So a CloudWatch alarm is an object that monitors a single matrix over a specified period. So the matter of fact that we can create an alarm on the particular EC2 instances, and the alarm is provide information that in the specified time, what's wrong with the systems, and we can set the, if your CPU utilization more than 50% or 70%, it will send an alarm message to us. So that sort of things we just configure into the CloudWatch. The alarm changes its states when the value of the metric breaches a defined range, and maintains the change for a specified number of periods. So alarm is basically as the we can just provide as per the periods. Suppose this time it is working fine, so there is no alarm is sending. But as per the period goes and the high usage of your issue to instance, so it is automatically send a alarm message to your system administrator's mail ID, or it will send a message um, to your administrator same time. So that at the same time is proactively administrator of the architect of the your cloud will take the action. So how alarms works basically allow elastic load balances coming, and then we have creating auto scaling groups, and auto scaling groups mapped with the elastic load balancers, and we have provided different instances at the same time, right? And once the instances are you have configured it, you have any instances you have to configure a CloudWatch same times. The CloudWatch will tells us that the CPU utilization is very high, the memory utilization is very high, the load incoming traffic is very high, the out traffic is very high. So we can providing so we can, I mean to say that we can just provide the information of the particular instance why this goes down. Suppose this instance goes down, so why it is down, that sort of informations the asked by the management or the architect person. So suppose the CPU utilization is very high, the load on the traffic outside network traffic is very high. So that sort of information, so we have to came to know that through the CloudWatch. So that is all the things we can came to know that yeah, that was the incident happened. So due to the CPU high utilization, suppose network utilization is very high, that is the only reason this instance goes down, and we have four instances are working same times. Okay, so we have going for the conclusion that what happened actually and what needs to be done. And the Amazon CloudWatch can aggregate metrics across predefined dimensions, each aggregate average CPU utilization for all these two instances and auto scaling groups. So the matter of fact that the auto scaling groups, what is doing it basically, scaling events is triggered. The auto scaling groups basically are providing information to the system architect that there's a very high CPU high utilization going on. Then at the same times, the alarm is going with this, and the collect metrics. So this is the CloudWatch. It is providing a alarm. Suppose your CPU utilization is more than 70%, 80%, then it is sending the information to the auto scaling group, and the auto scaling groups, providing information to your system architect, cloud architect, same time that your CPU utilization is very high. Due to this, there may be some chances that your system is going to be down, or need to do the what do you can do some sort of things at same times. So it's just proactively approach of the, how effectively your cloud is working, and how effectively you are managing your clouds, and health check same times, and you can go for the logs, and you can just provide some different policies over the EC2 instances, availability zones, and elastic load balancers policies, and you can just how how effectively you are managing the things, and that is the only reason this is the cloud cost effective solutions, right? But before we are using some physical environment, and there may be some, we have to buy a monitoring tool same times, we have to configure a high availability kind of stuff same time, and we have to separately purchase a elastic load balancer same time. So they are very costing kind of things. But in the AWS environment, you have everything is available. The matter of fact that how effectively you're using it, and what type of policies you configure same times. So elastic load balancers, availability zones, and EC2 instances, and then you can just go for the CloudWatch and your health checks kind of things. So this is the most important things, that how effectively and cost effective way you're managing your cloud same time, right? So CPU utilization is very high, so 70%. Yes, suppose you have created the CloudWatch and this is more than 70%, like 80%, it is sending the alarm message to your cloud architect that there is a very high CPU utilization going on. Then you need to do some, make some planning. Due to some network utilization, then you have to create some another instance same time or whatever, and this is the timing, right? So this is the proactively approach, we can say that, and how effectively you just managing the things. Alarm fires too late, and step scaling policies, so you can providing this, what step by step sort of things. Okay, the appropriate scaling step is selected based on the value of metrics that triggered the alarm, based on the manipulated of the branch. Step scaling policies are evaluated continuously. No locking alarms keep getting evaluated even while scaling, right? So this is the what the policies, how the different policies you can provide it, different features in the AWS available, right, and how effectively, how efficient you are in the AWS. That is the important thing, and how cost effective way you are just providing the resources at the same time, right? The number of things you will find out in the AWS, but the matter of fact that things, how effectively you're providing the policies and whether the things policies are working at the same times. So that is the only matter of fact, that, right? So these are the some step of policies. So you can just providing, yeah, suppose this is the CPU utilizations, this is alarm kind of things, you can just provide in the CloudWatch. Things is available there, and the two instances, and it's more when the 50% is more than 70%, it will sending the alarm message to your administrators. So once we're going for the what CloudWatch practical sort of stuff, so we will just take a look all sort of stuff. But the my agenda is there. Basically, you have to understand what kind of policies you can just provide, how effectively you will got the health checks of your instances. That's the matter of fact. Okay, that is the alarm fires. So suppose 60%, 70%, 80% alarm fires that your CPU utilization is very high, then you need to go for some proactive approach same time. So pros and cons, simple scaling policies and step scaling policies. So continuing reaction always the same, independent of size of breach. Locks the auto scaling groups when the scaling is running. Event is at a time. Elevates metric only when no scaling is going on. Cooling down the effectively after scaling action is complete, right? The pros and cons of the particular thing is important. The auto scaling group is basically what it actually, as per your queries on the website, right? Because most the 90% once you are going for the or availability set or load balancer or EC2 instances, once we are going to launch a website to the world, right? So Netflix is one of the example from the AWS, that providing online movies to the users, right? And if the movies are if the load is very high on the same time on the Netflix, right? So what kind of things at the back end it is working? So that sort of things is telling us here. Okay, so auto scaling group is basically increase the number of instances same time, and the load balancer providing a load sharing to the different instances same time, and then it will be working smoothly at your end. So when in doubt, prefer step scaling policies, the instances life cycles. So we have instances life cycles. We can just provide, yeah, this is your CloudWatch, and this is out scale out instances for launching, and the in services working, health checks is failed, and scale out and termination or terminated policies. So as per your what policies you're providing, right? You can just modify the things as of your instances, right? So why common use cases? Assign elastic IP address on a launch, register new instances with a DNS message queues, pull down log files before instance is terminated, and investigate issues within instance before terminating it, right? So that is the only things that the use cases of the particular uh, the EC2 the sorry auto scaling or sort of things, that why we going to use it and what is the use of it, but sort of things. So instance lifecycle launching, instance launching pending and is continuously launching is pending wait and abandoned and termination kind of stuffs, and termination waiting. So that sort of instances lifecycle is automatically created on the AWS end. How create a notification target SQS SQS basically providing SMS topics, basically providing your get your what SMS message to your phone. Create an IAM rules that allows auto scaling to access the notifications queue topics. So we will just talking about later on the IAM part, identity access management. It is for how can you what providing different type of roles we can go for it, right? How can you access your AWS from the different types, and then we will just talking about later on. Associate with the lifecycle hook with the auto scaling groups or notification target code and lifecycle hooks action. So simple notification. So this type of message you will get it. So auto scaling group time request response and life cycle taken, those sort of things you will get on your logs of the particular instances goes down or whatever things happen. So waiting for lifecycle hookups, extract token IDs, remember the tokens you are going to need it. So okay, so these are the things you will find out. Amazon SNS notifications. So it is basically providing a, messages to your the system architect that what's going on actually with the server and what needs to be done. So this it is a proactively approach. Sorry. Okay, instance lifecycle we already stand by our terminating things. Okay, we just already did it. The benefit or auto scaling is basically we have did this one. We have we came to know that the labels is also important and the customizers with bootstrapping the lifecycle hookups. So we can just create all sort of things. Auto scaling is to spot instances to save, handle rolling deployments across auto scaling. So different what deployments you can go through the particular auto scaling sort of things. So that's the end of this particular what slide we can say that, right? So any questions, any doubts you're just asking about the EC2 instances, the AWS, the CloudWatch we just talking about also in this.
Mahesh, the auto scaling option is optional or it is mandatory?
It is optional, my dear, because if you're running only one instance, two instances, there is no use of it. But if you are working in an environment, the corporate environment, right? Suppose you are hosting a website, right? And then you require auto scaling because it is recommended by the AWS. It is not sure that you need to be always your system EC2 instance should be the auto scaling group. There is no, but you need to always if you are a proactive approach, if you required your load is very high on the website, so you have to is EC2 instance should be mapped with your auto scaling group.
So is it chargeable if we opt out for that auto scaling option?
That's need to be checked. Don't think so, but it's chargeable. But the traffic coming from the outside and inside that sort of billing is happened. But we need to cross check the auto scaling the charges or prices. But I don't think so. It is the chargeable because the traffic coming from the outside inside those sort of things the billing. But we need to cross check it. No problem.
Okay.
So the auto scaling basically, my dear friends, the matter of fact, I will tell you, if you are launching a website, right, then all sort of things coming to the picture, right? Suppose you are going to launching a website of your own, like Amazon, or you can say that any Snapdeal or Shop Close or different websites available. And then first of all the traffic coming from the outside world, right? The global traffic coming to your website. So this is a public IP address you have mapped it, or your elastic IP you can map it, whatever. And if you have a globalized environment, then you have to configure the route 53 DNS, right? We will talk later on all sort of things. Then all sort of traffic comes to your load balancer same time. The load balancer, what type of load balancer you have created? HTTPS traffic, HTTP traffic, classic load balancers, application load balancer, right? So the you have configured the application load balancer same time, right? The application load balancer then sending the traffic to the auto scaling group. Auto scaling group, it means that number of instances your web servers into this, right? Okay, and the auto scaling group on the we have configured the the CloudWatch same time. And the CloudWatch you will get some the health checks, the CPU utilizations, and SNS service, the alarm kind of stuffs. Okay, and you can just check the health checks on the your load balancer same times. Okay, so that sort of things we just talking about. The all things are together coming once you're working in the corporate environment. And then once you're working all sort of environment, then you came to know that yeah, this has happened, this has happened, this is the one thing is integrated with each another feature, right? And all features are combined with become a very cloud a good cloud computing concepts. Okay, so today we are just talking about the auto scaling part, load balancer part, and the CloudWatch we just talking about. And the tomorrow we also go for some advanced sort of things. like or load balancers or auto scaling things. How can we cross zone auto scaling? How can disasters happen, and what's we going to do it same time? Okay, then we're going for the practical sort of stuffs later on, because the logical, the understanding is most important part of the story, right? Once you're going for the AWS environment or the practicals, you will just create a 1 or 2 minutes all sort of things, but you need to understand why it has happened, what's going on at the back end, what's going on with the AWS environment. That is the only important feature things we need to understand, right? So you can just all sort of information recording you will just get into my YouTube channel. I will also share you the link same time, so you can just go through it, and any confusion, any issues, then you can just let me know tomorrow, and then we will continue, right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for all of you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Nice to